Welcome to the Workology podcast, where we discuss the science and art of the workplace, gain powerful insights, resources, and perspectives on the industries of human resources and recruiting. Join your host, Jessica Miller-Merrill, chief blogger of bloggingforjobs.com, for an in-depth and no-holds-barred look into the future of our most powerful business asset, the employee. And now, welcome your host, Jessica, with this podcast episode of Workology.
Hello, and welcome to the Workology podcast, where this is our second edition of talking all about SHRM Annual Conference in Las Vegas. We are putting together a list of tips and tricks and just suggestions from conference veterans who've attended many and maybe spoke at many annual SHRM conferences of the past. My first person up to talk with their tip or suggestion is Jennifer McClure. Jennifer, welcome to the Workology podcast.
Thank you. I've been listening since the first podcast, so first-time caller, regular listener.
Love line. There you go.
There you go.
So tell everyone a little bit about yourself in case that they aren't, I don't know why they wouldn't know who Jennifer is because you speak all over the country, but tell folks who are listening a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name is Jennifer McClure, and you can find me at unbridledtalent.com or on Twitter at Jennifer McClure. And I have about 20 years of experience in leadership and executive roles in human resources, and also about 4 years as an executive recruiter, so kind of on the other side, working with company leaders to fill leadership positions in their organization. And for the last 5 years, I've been doing speaking, training, workshops, as well as executive coaching, and I do take on a couple of consulting clients, all of those activities around kind of the talent strategy and leadership development space. So I consider myself someone who is always looking to learn and always willing to share what I've learned in those areas with people anywhere and everywhere.
So you're speaking at SHRM this year. What's your session about?
Sure. I have 2 sessions. Monday and Tuesday, getting the C-suite's attention, 7 strategies for moving from HR leader to business leader. So we'll be covering 7 areas where HR can really add strategic value to the organization and make sure that they're contributing at that level and, of course, have the C-suite's attention.
And so you have, I guess it's the same session twice, and you have the first one on the 29th from 2 to 3, and then on the 30th from 4 to, I guess, 5:15.
Yeah, so stay late, get the good stuff, or get to the first session so you don't have to stay late.
Well, let's talk about SHRM because you have attended SHRM for many years and spoken there and as an attendee and then as a speaker. What tip or suggestion do you have for folks maybe who are putting their plan together to attend annual conference?
Sure. I can say, I guess my first SHRM that I attended was in 2009, and that was when I was working as an executive recruiter, and I went by myself, didn't know anybody, and to meet some of the people that I had connected with on Twitter, but I'm very introverted, and so this was the first conference that I had attended and kind of a big step for me. So back then in 2009, it was easy to connect. Well, I mean, it was easier for me to connect with people because I was looking to find some certain people on Twitter. But since then, I've attended every year, still very introverted. And just from being at conferences in general, and in particular at the SHRM conference, I do think it's, people will tell you it's really important to connect and to make sure that you meet people and that it's, 15,000 professionals, a great opportunity to network. And I think for a lot of us, not just introverts, but experts, we find that hard, because it's intimidating. You walk in and there's people everywhere. So I usually like to give people advice, and I follow this myself, do try to sit with people, whether it's during the box lunch sessions or the lunch sessions, or even in the sessions that you attend in the few minutes before they start. When you sit with people, obviously try to sit with some people maybe that you haven't met before, but just start a conversation with them. Even introverts can do this with, hey, what have you enjoyed the most about the conference so far? What's been your favorite session? What surprised you that you weren't looking for? There's some questions that you can get people talking around their experience at the conference. And then that will generally make people make them comfortable and also make you comfortable. And that can, take the conversation from there. So just find a way to get people talking and get them laughing. And I find that easier to connect than people just saying, you need to make sure you network at SHRM, because networking to a lot of people means passing business cards and saying my name and what I do for a living, and that's not a great way to connect. So just get people talking to you.
I like that you're talking about being an introvert versus an extrovert, because sometimes it seems like that there are people who are extroverted and they can, they seem to meet everybody. They aren't uncomfortable, or at least they don't show that they're uncomfortable in situations. I think it's nice for you to be able to talk about the fact that you are an introvert, and I am somewhat of an introvert myself, but I have to prepare when I go to these things because it's a lot of people and it is extremely uncomfortable sometimes.
hmm And it's possible, I mean, to go to a big event like that and not talk to anybody, and just go to sessions and all that. And I've done that at other events, sometimes, but I just think there is so much value. Last year, for example, I was sitting in an early morning session waiting for the speaker to get started. And the gentleman in front of me turned around and he started a conversation with me. And he was writing a book, and he was an accountant who had an interest in HR. And all of that conversation just happened within, a 5-10 minute period. And then he invited me to connect afterwards. And I went to his website and, looked at his book. And so that's how it works. Just turn around and start talking to somebody. And, they're probably very interesting in some way. And I don't even know how that he didn't say that he had written a book. I probably started asking questions because that's more comfortable than talking about myself. But just make it a point. I tell people when I do speak at conferences and events, I try to give them the assignment to make sure they connect with at least 3 people, and I really connect. So yeah, you're going to SHRM. If you're going to be there 3 or 4 days, 3 people should be an easy goal. Somebody that you want to connect with after the event, whether you exchange business cards or you find a way to connect with them on Twitter or LinkedIn, but somebody that you would be glad to continue the conversation with, or that you think you can help or they could help you in the future. So be intentional and kind of mindful about, set a goal for yourself, the people that you want to meet, rather than just going and saying, I'm here to network, because that probably just means you'll leave and say, I talked to a bunch of people, but I didn't actually really connect with anybody.
In one of the many blog posts that you've written about introverts versus extroverts, you mentioned this quote, and it says, introverts typically don't like to talk about themselves. We prefer to talk about ideas. Force yourself to discuss some of the things you've done. Don't brag. Make sure they are relevant to the conversation. Then the extroverts can talk about you and pass your achievements along.
There you go. That's great advice.
Yeah,
Whoever wrote that was genius.
Well, you put this in a blog post that you first wrote in 2009. So I definitely, we'll include it in the link of the transcript for this particular episode with SHRM tips and tricks from veterans.
Thank you.
How's the best way to connect with you if they want to maybe get to know you or spend some time with you at SHRM or another event or offline?
Absolutely. Definitely active on Twitter, so feel free to send me a reply or connect with me there, and that's at Jennifer McClure. I still do use LinkedIn quite a bit. Love to connect with people there. My email address is right in my summary if you need that, or you can send me a message for free, and you can find me, Jennifer McClure, President of Unbridled Talent, on there. And then, of course, you can always go to my website. There's a contact form right there, unbridledtalent.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jennifer, for being on the podcast and talking about SHRM tips. Definitely appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
Stay tuned, guys. We're going to be talking to our next conference veteran, sharing more tips as we get ready for SHRM Annual Conference in Las Vegas. And we're back talking about SHRM Annual Conference in Las Vegas. We're here again with Letty Klutz, and Letty is with SHRM, and she's going to be giving us some insights all about tips and suggestions from someone who is really in the know about how to get the most out of the SHRM Annual Conference this year. Letty, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Jessica.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at SHRM.
I am the Director of Conference Programming and Development at SHRM, which means I am the person who puts together the program for the conference. So that includes the keynote speakers, the master series, as well as all of the concurrent sessions. So as you can imagine, there is never a dull moment.
And we're just about a week and a half before SHRM as we're recording this, so I know that things are getting really hectic and crazy for you over there.
To put it mildly, yes.
So I really appreciate you taking the time, and tell us what tip or suggestion can you give for folks who are attending the conference?
Gosh, I have so many. But one of the things I'll say is to have a plan. I think we've said that before, but it's really important, especially for those who are experiencing this conference for the first time. I think that when you arrive in Las Vegas with 15,000 plus of your closest friends, it can be an extremely overwhelming experience. And so read the materials ahead of time, download the app, have a plan. And what I mean by that is read the session materials, figure out what sessions you want to go to, have more than one choice at each time frame. And the reason I say that is that sometimes sessions are more popular than we anticipated. So if you can't get into a session, it's nice to have a backup plan so that you can go and see another session if you're unable to get into your first choice. I think that's really critical. I think that knowing what you want to learn and where you want to go will make your experience better for you, because you're going to be able to know exactly what you want to accomplish. So that's what I would do. I would, again, have a plan, download the app. I know we've said that 400 times, but that is the source of information to navigate the conference. The other thing I will say also in conjunction with having a plan is that the exposition hall is an amazing conglomeration of companies that will provide you with solutions. So if there are certain companies or there are certain areas within your HR department that you are looking for solutions, is to take a look at the list of exhibitors and target the ones that you really want to go to and find out about their products and services, because that will, again, only enhance your experience and make the most out of your time in Las Vegas.
And one of the things I like about the app, and I've just been playing around with it and favoriting sessions that I want to be attending over the course of the few days in Las Vegas, is that you even have the option to sort of plan out the time that you're going to spend in the expo hall, who you're going to spend it with, and what you're going to be doing, which is nice because you can kind of favorite those preferred or maybe interested vendors or service providers that you want to learn more about.
Exactly. And new this year, we're going to have a game in the app. So we're going to be announcing that on June 22nd. So stay tuned for details.
Oh, the secret scoop. Well, that'll be really fun. Let's talk a little bit about some of the main speakers. I know we have Marcus Buckingham, we have Coach K. What's it like as folks are coming in to attend these keynote sessions? Should they be arriving early? Are there any suggestions to get the best vantage point or seat to be able to hear the speakers?
Well, we actually take all of that into consideration when we are putting together the setup for that general session room. So there really isn't a bad seat, if you will. We have screens all throughout the general session, so it doesn't matter where you are sitting, you will be able to see the speaker, whether it's Marcus, whether it's Coach K, on a screen. You might not be able to see them on the stage, but you will be able to see them and hear them regardless of where you're seated in the general session room. One of the things I will say is that if you do, want to make sure you are in the, at the beginning, at the front row in the general sessions, is to get there when doors open. And typically doors open about 30 minutes prior to the general session beginning, and all of that information will be posted and is included in the on-site guide that people will get when they register on-site in Las Vegas.
Awesome. I think that knowing when the doors open is key, especially if maybe you are a big Duke fan or a Coach K fan and you want to get up there and get some good shots of him, or live tweet some nuggets of wisdom from his particular keynote.
Exactly.
Well, awesome. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us. Is there anything else that you wanted to share, or more importantly, when do SHRM folks get into Las Vegas?
Well, we actually start arriving, if you can believe it, on Monday. So we go in about a week prior to the conference starting to just really put our giant footprint on the convention center and in the neighboring Westgate, which was formerly the Las Vegas Hilton. We're on two campuses there, but they're right next to each other. So, yeah, we go out quite early to build so that we are ready to put on the best show that these people have seen so far. So we are ready to rock and roll.
Where can people connect with you? You're on Twitter also, right?
Correct. Yes, I am. My Twitter handle is @SHRMLetty. So I am definitely on Twitter. I will be, you will see me. I'll be a flash of person running around the convention center. One thing I will say in closing is to make sure people check out the Connection Zone. And the Connection Zone is where the Smart Stage is. If people don't know what the Smart Stage is, it's our 18-minute presentations. They start on Sunday. They go through Wednesday. So I really encourage people to check that out. out the SHRM stores in the Connection Zone as well. So it's that's where our community service project is as well. So I will definitely be there, as well as I'm sure lots of other people, but it's definitely something I would encourage people to check out.
Well, lots of great tips, and thank you so much, and I'll look forward to seeing you at SHRM in just a week.
As well. Thank you so much, Jessica.
Before we close with this second special podcast episode where we talk about SHRM 2015 Annual Conference tips, I wanted to close and share with you my tip. Most of you might not know, but I am quite a bit introverted. I am very nervous in front of larger groups and prefer to be in smaller, maybe one-on-one or groups of 25 or less. Because of that, I spend a ridiculous amount of time online. It's a great place for me to be able to get to know other people, develop relationships, and never be without friends wherever I go and whatever conference I attend. One of my favorite places to go in relation to SHRM is SHRM Connect. That's SHRM's community, very active, lots of great people, and you will always have a friend. It's a great way to be able to get to know people in specific areas. There's a wonderful Department of One group in relation to the annual conference. There is an LGBT community. There are lots and lots of state-specific councils and groups and areas where you can build relationships long before you go to the conference. That's why I like Twitter so much too. It's a great way to build relationships with new bloggers, influencers, and just people on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, I suggest you go to the hashtag SHRM15blogger. It's where all the bloggers are going to be sharing, connecting, chatting, just tweeting, doing the things that we generally do. Many of us have known each other for many years, and SHRM is sort of, high school reunion of sorts where we can reconnect, see each other. This might be the only time that I see maybe Steve Brown or John Georgeson or some of the other bloggers that I spend a lot of time with online and have known for 5 or more years. That wraps up our SHRM 2015 Annual Conference tips. I'm looking forward to the annual conference just a few short days away. I hope you are too. Just tweet me if you want to connect. It's at @JMillerMerrill. I'll also be on the SHRM Connect. Or you can just simply find me at the conference and stop me, give me a hug, and let's get to know each other. IRL in real life. We'll talk to you soon.
Production services for the Workology podcast with Jessica Miller Merrill, provided by Total Picture Media.